Hi, I'm Jamie Morgan, and today we're looking at another website in our series of website reviews. And today we're looking at the website of Ian Taylor Photography, a professional photographer based in Oxfordshire. And Ian will be quite happy with me telling you that he's been in the industry a long time. He's been photographing professionally since 1997. And today we're going to look at some ways that we can help him improve his website. So we're going to start off looking underneath the hood of Ian's website. itphoto.co.uk is Ian's domain, and Ian has registered this back in 2006. So as far as building blocks for a website goes, Ian has got a really great foundation when it comes to search engine optimization, but also being found on the internet as well, because Ian has longevity in his website domain name. You know, to have a domain name that's been there for 13, 14, 15 years, that hasn't lapsed, that hasn't been having issues with it, will give him some really great authority. Now, on that building block, we're then able to build our search engine optimization, and we're able to build our authority around our subject matter. And that's partly what we're going to look at today, some ways to improve the way that Ian gets found online. Now, if you've heard me on the Facebook community or on any of the talks that I give, you'll hear me harping on about using the professional accreditations that you have properly on your website to add authority and trust to your work. So if Ian's taken this on board, up here at the top of the page, one of the first things that people see when they come to the website is always use a professional photographer and the details of his qualifications with the British Institute of Professional Photography. Now, that's absolutely fantastic, Ian, but I would tend to move that a little bit further down the page. But we're going to talk about your homepage for a few minutes now. Now, we have got a wealth of images here, and they're beautiful photos, and they mix some commercial work, they mix some architectural photography, they mix some family portraits, they mix some children's photography, some headshots, some, again, commercial work, architectural, some press and PR work. And there's a beautiful, diverse range of work here. But it can be a little bit confusing for people, because what we have to think about is how people come to our website. Who are they? What are they looking for? And where can we move them to as quick as possible? So this gallery could do with being slimmed down a little bit and then a little bit better organized. And we'll talk about that in a minute. We next come down to a block of text here, which talks a little bit about Ian. This has been written in an ever so slightly SEO fashion from the kind of 2008, 2010 time. And then we come down to some Facebook and Instagram feeds. Now, first of all, let me just talk about the body of text here. One of the things we really need to spell check our work, because the word professional here is missing an N. But in commercial and business websites, we do expect things to be in short, concise paragraphs. We need to be able to skim read the text, but they really should be left aligned rather, so that we read it very, very simply from left to right. This, on each of the pages as we go through the website, there's not too much information. Now, Google reads text. It can tell what's in an image. It can tell a person's in an image, or a dog or a cat, but it can't tell the relevance of that to the person. We build our authority as a website, as a marketeer, as a photographer, by the content that we put out to people and the information that we give them to read. Now, what we need to do as we go through the website is think about the process that we want people to take. You know, we think about the kind of clients that we want and what they need to know, and then how they get in touch. So we need some calls to action, we need some information, and then we need again, a call to action of where they're going to go afterwards. At the bottom of the page here, there's something I'd like to have a little rant about for a moment. I absolutely hate these Facebook feeds and Instagram feeds that people put on their website. And I'm going to keep banging this drum until people start to listen. Because the purpose of all of our marketing is to create an action. You know, we want people to come along, look at our website, read a little bit about us, see our beautiful work, and then get in touch. Whereas putting these feeds on from Facebook and Instagram actually works against us, because it causes us to take people away from where we're trying to convert them into a customer, and there's a good possibility they're not going to come back. They get distracted, they move off, they see an advert on Facebook, anything like that. So I would remove these feeds. They were a fashion back around 2010 because people were looking at their websites and they weren't updating websites regularly. Websites were a very static object, and people were thinking, do you know what? If I put a feed to my Facebook, I update my Facebook every day, and I update my Instagram. If I put feeds to them, when Google spiders my website, Google will see fresh content from Facebook and from Instagram, and it will think that my website is being updated regularly. In fact, as I say, it works detrimentally and pulls people away from our website. So along the bottom of the page here, I'd put a footer. The footer would do two things. We'd have some contact details down here. So again, as people have traveled down the page, the last thing they see is our contact details, an address, telephone number, big contact us button down in the bottom corner. I would tend to add the details about our professional qualifications in a paragraph towards the bottom of the page, but actually give a paragraph of information as to why it's important to employ a professional qualified photographer. This block of text, we need to think about our customer's journey, and we need to think who our customers are and think about it from their point of view. Do they need to know that Ian's a photographer? Well, they've come to a photography page, so they already know that you're a photographer. But this can tell them an awful lot of things. For example, what's involved in commissioning a professional photographer for architecture, or what's involved in commissioning a professional photographer for a family portrait session. What do I need to know? Can we do it indoors? Can we do it outdoors? What should we wear? Really think about the questions that your customers are going to have and answer them here. And then what you're doing is you're filtering people down a funnel so that when they do hit contact us, they are genuinely interested. We don't need tire kickers. What we need is people that have gone through a process to come out the bottom end as a customer, effectively ready to buy. So again, this page works really nicely on mobiles. It rendered really nicely. It's responsive, but there's an awful lot of scrolling because there's an awful lot of pictures. So on this home page, I would tend to have a block of text at the top. I would then have some galleries, break the galleries down into different genres, so it's very clear as this is family photography, this is commercial photography, this is architectural, and with each of those have a couple of sections of text. You could put it the text in two columns, so it's nice and quick and easy to read, and then as it filters down, it'll give us a nice feel to the page. I'd also slim it out a little bit. You've got some lovely pictures here, and then you've got some probably emotive pictures as well, which you could filter out a little bit. When we talk about SEO, there's some SEO work to be done on the site. It's not ranking too badly at the moment, but there's a lot of techniques that were kind of used around the 2010s. So there's some updates that need to be done. First of all, we need to have a look at these image sizes. We can slim those down with a tool called JPEG Mini, and that will help take all the unnecessary information out the back of a file and help us slim it down. Means it will load faster on a mobile, load faster on a computer. As we look through, your website's built on WordPress, which is fantastic. So we can do an awful lot with WordPress without having to break what's here at the moment. One of the most important things when doing updates to your website is not to go in and change everything at once, breaking all the page names and page titles and everything like that, but actually have an action plan and do some of the work over a month or two and bring things in gradually. So when Google starts to see changes, they're gradual changes rather than butchering everything from day one. With the site at the moment, let me just pull up some tools and we'll have a quick look at some of the analysis of the page. So one of the things, I use a tool to create an SEO report, and a few of the things that we've come back with is to do with simple things like page titles. The same page title is used on the home page and a couple of other pages. There are no meta descriptions for most of the gallery pages. Because there's not a lot of content, there's no headings, H1, H2, H3 references. The file names of the images could actually be changed so that we've got some local SEO benefits to them. Again, an awful lot of the pages need some alt tags added into them as well. That's a really quick and easy thing to do in the media area of WordPress. You can go and add some alt tags so that we know that this is 10 children running through a field in Oxfordshire. We can add a CDN system, content delivery network. So basically we sign up to a free piece of software once we've done all the improvements to the site, called Cloudflare, and that will cache the website so that it loads quicker on mobile phones and loads quicker on desktops as well. So page headings, page titles, meta descriptions, image alt tags, image file names, they're all really, really important things that we need to be having a look at. When we look, we've not got a bad score here at the moment. These titles at the moment, page titles, this is called your site title, this area here in blue, and then this front part is likely to be your page title. Now we want a different page title for every page. Again, it can be to do with what's on the page. So it could be architectural photographer in Oxfordshire, and then your page title will pop on the end. We need this one here at the moment is too long, so we probably need to lose this professional images since 1997. We've got a meta description. This meta description pops up in your Google search. So at the moment, this is very bland. It's very generalist. We'd want each of your gallery pages to have a separate meta description. So for example, architectural photographer in Oxfordshire, photographing for biosciences, etc., etc., etc. You could make it quite niche, and the more niche you make it, will mean that it will pop up the rankings more for those kind of niches. So if there's some specific areas, for example, if you do a lot of aerospace or you do an awful lot of churches or schools, then you could pop those areas into the meta description. But this is a really good example of the meta description. When you pop up in Google, is this 152 characters going to make someone click on me? Is it going to prompt them to action? And that's what you need to really think about when writing your meta descriptions. So our front page has got some H2 and H3s. It needs to have at least one H1, H2, H3. And this H1 is not welcome to Ian Taylor photography. We need to think about the keyword that the page is ranking to and make sure that keyword follows down through the page. Again, there's 39 images there with no alt tags, so we need to get those alt tags in, and again, they can be used very much for local SEO. There's some issues here with the SSL certificates not translating, so it looks like you've made some efforts there in the past, but for some reason it's not pushing us to where we should do. There are some WordPress plugins that will force SSL, is one of them, that will force the page to go from a HTTP to HTTPS. Ignore this one here about the HTML sitemap because Yoast does that automatically, which you've got running on the site. As I say, the page worked really well on mobiles, but again, we need to think about the customer journey. Now, I'm going to go back to talking about the customer journey ever so quickly with your menu system at the moment. First of all, contact page, I would always make that the last piece of buttonry on the menu, because we want people to go down through the thing and the last thing they're going to do is hit contact. This Everswell design and privacy policy, I would tend to put in a footer at the bottom of the page here, which we call the junk drawer, because most people aren't actually going to look at your privacy policy. Your excuse me projects could have an area on this page. You could have a section here that talks about your excuse me projects with a picture to drive people off to. Your excuse me projects are not probably likely to generate you direct business. They're more of a photographic project. So when we think about from a business point of view, this site is all about converting visitors to inquirers. So the most important thing is that actually we think about people coming to the site in the terms of the genres that you work in, and say, right, if the people are coming here to buy architecture, do we want them to find it really easily? And at the moment, we've got to dig for the architectural gallery, we've got to dig for the commercial gallery, we've got to dig for the portrait. But also, are some of these terms the terms that people are going to use? So, for example, portraits. So, should we have family photography, because it's a term that people will think about? Do we think about headshots and staff portraits? Do we think about changing the words here ever so slightly so that they're the kind of terms that our customers may use? So, as we went to architecture, beautiful gallery of images, and we've got 3 lines of text. So Google will read these 3 lines of text, and actually we need to be putting 500 to 750 words on this page. Again, thinking about our customer journey, what are they likely to want? What do they need to know? And how do they justify that you're a professional that they should put forward to their boss? That's the best way of thinking about what the content I should write there. Put yourself in someone else's shoes. What questions are they going to ask? How do I justify, bringing this guy in to do a quote to my boss? That's quite an important thing. Is this project going to be the kind of project that you need to do a site visit before you go to take the photos for the day? Do you need specific PPE? Have you had specialist training in working at height, for example? Do you use a drone? Are you licensed? All sorts of questions that you can answer there in your kind of website copy. Again, we'd want some calls to action on this page. So as they come down the page, a contact us form at the bottom of that page will make it really easy for them to get the information, see that you're competent to do your job, and submit an inquiry. They don't have to go to the contact page. I would include a contact form anywhere that your customer is likely to move too quickly. Tesco's have an idea that you should be able to buy everything within 3 clicks. So if they can come to the site, they can go to the architecture page and they can submit an inquiry all within those 2 to 3 clicks. You're likely to generate more inquiries. You've got a page here called references. Now, I found this quite an interesting one. One of the things I would like to see is your pages, for example, that architectural page we just looked at, interspersed with testimonials. Now, as people, we don't generally use this term references. So if we use the term testimonials and we intersperse those testimonials throughout the relevant pages, then customers are going to look at them. Not many of us are going to head to a page called references before we look at your work. I'd love to see more testimonials, say, interspersed within the information we're giving to clients. The blog has got a couple of recent posts in it for 2020. There's 2 there from February. I'd like to see you at least doing 1 a month. There's also some great opportunities, as you will have seen in my comments on the BIPP community earlier this week, for us to write about workshops and training courses and CPD that we do. And there's always some interesting things. Blogs are kind of twofold. They help Google know that we're still alive and kicking. You can write a short blog, which is 350 to 500 words. That's realistically 2 to 3 paragraphs, or what we call a long tail blog, which will be a kind of 750 to 1500 words. Now, the longer blogs give us a really good example of how we can add authority to our site. And something like your article here on how to photograph stained glass windows is a really good example of some long content. To improve the SEO on this, what we could do is add some external links and create some headings in here, H1, H2, H3 headings, and pop a table of contents at the top here so that they can always skim down to each of the different headings. And bits like this work fantastically for our SEO. We do need to break these paragraphs. Don't be afraid of having like a 3 or 4 line paragraph like this and then dropping it down and making it digestible. We don't know what people are looking at. You could even cut this into 3 or 4 blog posts, for example, if it does get too long, because people will skim read, and we want to be able to give them some really good examples of things and get in touch with us. But people are more likely to either print it or work their way through it bit by bit. So the blog's good, needs a little bit more work. I'd like to see at least a monthly post on there just to keep things fresh and up to date. We've talked about the menu system. We've talked about some basic SEO through the site. We've talked about adding some copy and thinking about our customer journey. At the moment, your site comes up as not secure at the top of the page here because of some issues with the SSL certificates. I find the design a little bit aged, a little bit 2010. Being WordPress based, it would be very easy to kind of give the site a bit of a makeover. But one of the things that I would really pay some attention to is the contact page, because the contact page for me is kind of horrendous, and it's probably making you hit a little bit of a brick wall. First of all, we've got 3 different styles of font: contact us. Then we've got some Times New Roman down here, and then we're back to Verdana or something similar at the bottom of the page. So we need to be conscious as to keeping the same font throughout. But there's 2 different things that happen here. Again, we talked about Tesco's idea of a 3-click till you're sold kind of system. They come to the Contact Us page, and the first thing we're hit with is contact us on the telephone number and then a map. The chances are they're not going to drive to you when they first contact you. So this map could go down to the bottom of the page. We can add some text about directions to you from a couple of major towns, and Google likes that for the local SEO. But at the moment, I've seen a kind of design flaw in your email, which could be causing people not to complete it. First of all, the more that we ask them to complete, the less people will actually complete it. We talked about bringing people down a funnel into the website so that the people that actually complete it are really genuinely interested. But again, there's some things that we're doing which would discourage people from contacting us. So we capture people's name. That's really important. We capture their email. That's really important. We've asked for 2 different phone numbers here. When you're asking for a sign up to a newsletter or to a contact form, as I say, the more we're asking for, the less people are going to go through the net. So we could lose one of these telephone number boxes. We don't really need the subject box either, because at the end of the day, we can set up this mail form so that we know that it's come via the website. So we could lose these 2 boxes here. They can pop their message in. We don't really need this send a copy to yourself. We can automate that so that they get a copy anyway. And we've got a submit button here. We can change the color of this submit button. And they don't really need a reset button either. We can change the color of this submit button so that they have a really loud call to action. So I would always make anything that someone's going to hit, they're used to hyperlinks being blue. So if we make the submit button blue, it really does stand out. But I've worked my way down this form on the left here, yet there's something I have to do before I can hit this submit button, and that's enter this captcha here. So the chances of people coming down here and hitting this and it not going through and frustrating them and then probably bouncing away or getting in contact in another way is probably quite high. If we use a tool like Contact Form 7, we can do all of this automatically. We can tidy this up, make it a little bit more graphically pleasing, and the capture form security tool really can be included in the form without them even realizing they've got to click it. Google's got a fantastic capture tool that we can use, and that's free. But again, on the home page, I'd love to see these contact details really nice and clear. I'd love to see the contact us button throughout the website on every single page. A call to action to get in touch, talk about their project, talk about their family portraits, whatever our call to actions are, have them through the site, and definitely include some contact forms throughout the other gallery pages so it makes it easier for people to get in touch. So we've also spoke last of all about the content delivery network. So once we've made some basic changes to the site, we've got those image sizes down, we've got the site loading faster, we can use something like a content delivery network, which I'm hoping you can see the different tab I've moved to now. We've talked about optimizing our images first, the compression and browser caching, and JavaScript minifying script. All of these things will get taken care of by our CDN. And then we've got a faster loading site. Then we can build on what's called the local SEO. We can build some blog posts about local areas, about projects that we've worked on, case studies, all those kind of things in the blog, and that makes it a lot more interesting for people to come and look at. At the moment, we need this page load speed to get right down to about 3 seconds, and this page size we need to bring right down, and we'll do that by reducing those image sizes. So I'm Jamie Morgan. We've been looking at the website of Ian Taylor Photography. There's some more things that we can go into that need doing, but I don't want to overload you and overburden you on the first run. So this has been really about getting some of the foundation in place to build a stronger website to help you get found on Google. And I'm Jamie Morgan, and thank you for tuning in for this edition of the Website Reviews.